Julius Crane was one of the richest men in town. He built his fortune from scratch, and his name echoed through the business world like thunder. He had a loving wife named Melinda and two wonderful children, Chloe and Leon. But Julius didn't know that those he trusted most were plotting his demise. It all began when Julius fell gravely ill and received a life-threatening diagnosis from his doctor. Devastated, Julius summoned his family for one last conversation. As he sat on his bed, his usually robust frame shrunken by illness, he expressed his love for his family and informed them about his rapidly deteriorating health. At this point, he thought he could still trust his family and so decided to inform them that he wanted them to take over his company after his passing. His wife, Melinda, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, promising to take good care of both the company and their children. His daughter, Chloe, with tears in her eyes, hugged him tightly, swearing she would honor her father's wishes. His son, Leon, nodded solemnly, his face etched with grief. But behind closed doors, a different story was unfolding. Melinda gathered her children soon after their father left for his appointment with the lawyer. She told them their father wasn't actually sick. According to the information she'd received, he was perfectly healthy. She also mentioned something about him faking his own death, an idea that sent chills down the children's spines. Melinda explained that if their father faked his death, the company would go to whoever he named as his heir. And considering his current relationship with Ben, it was likely that the entire fortune would go to that boy, stripping them of their luxurious lifestyle. The siblings looked at each other, their faces pale with dawning realization. They loved their father dearly, but they also loved their luxurious lives. The thought of losing it all to some random boy they barely knew was unbearable. "We can't let that happen," Leon said, his voice shaking. "I agree," said Chloe, her eyes flashing with determination. "Whatever it takes, we have to make sure Dad never finds out." And so the plan was hatched. They would pretend to grieve for their father, play the perfect, dutiful children, seize the company, and share the spoils. Little did they know, Julius had already anticipated their actions and had devised a foolproof plan of his own. After that fateful conversation, Julius had secretly arranged for his lawyer to transfer full control of the company to his gardener's grandson, Ben, a bright young man who had been working at the company for years. Julius also secretly moved large sums of money into various accounts, far from the reach of his family. His plan was to reveal his family's betrayal at the perfect moment, leaving them with nothing. A few weeks later, Julius faked his own death. The news spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the community. The family held a grand funeral, wailing loudly and consoling each other, all the while keeping a close eye on the clock. They knew the appointed lawyer would arrive soon to read the will and distribute the assets. In their grief-stricken state, they failed to notice a lone figure watching them from a distance, a faint smile playing on his lips. It was Julius. He had chosen a discreet location overlooking the funeral home, perfectly positioned to observe the proceedings. What he saw confirmed his suspicions. His so-called family was engrossed in their own selfish thoughts, their eyes gleaming with greed rather than genuine sorrow. When the lawyer arrived, they all turned their attention to him, eager to get their hands on the inheritance. The lawyer, unaware of the deceit, read the will, stating that the entirety of the estate would be transferred to Mr. Julius Crane Jr. There was a stunned silence. "What?" Melinda exclaimed. "But he's dead." The lawyer checked his notes. According to Mr. Crane's wishes, all assets are to be transferred to his son. This went against everything the family had planned. Furious, Melinda shot daggers at her children, silently cursing them for not carrying out their part of the plan. Just then, a loud voice boomed. "I am alive." Everyone turned to the source of the voice. Standing tall at the entrance was none other than Julius Crane himself. Gasps echoed through the room. The family stood frozen, their faces drained of color. "Dad, how?" stammered Leon, his voice betraying his shock. "How did you fake your death?" Julius smiled enigmatically. "Let's just say I had a little help from my doctor." He then turned his gaze to the lawyer. "Is the transfer complete?" The lawyer, still recovering from the shock, managed to stammer out, "Yes, Mr. Crane." Julius turned back to his family, his eyes blazing with anger and disappointment. "I had hoped that after my passing, you would handle my company and take good care of my family, but clearly I was wrong." With a wave of his hand, he dismissed the lawyer and the guests. As the room emptied, He turned back to his so-called family, his voice heavy with finality. I am officially disinheriting the three of you. Not only will you receive nothing from me, but I want you removed from all company properties. His daughter, Chloe, broke down into tears, but Julius wasn't moved. Don't cry, child. You have only yourself to blame for this outcome. He then surprised everyone by announcing, my grandson, Ben, whom many of you have had the pleasure of meeting, will now take over the company. Before anyone could react, Julius dismissed them once again, leaving them in stunned silence. In the following days, Julius revealed to Ben the truth about their relationship. Ben couldn't believe that he was the son Julius had given up on all those years ago. Overwhelmed with gratitude, he promised his father he would do everything to make him proud. Meanwhile, Melinda and her children, bitter and resentful, plotted their next move. They hatched a plan to discredit Ben and tarnish his reputation. Knowing that Julius was now out of the picture, they thought they finally had the upper hand and could do as they pleased. They started a smear campaign, spreading false rumors about Ben to the media. They painted a picture of him as a greedy opportunist who had engineered his father's death to inherit the fortune. For a while, their plan seemed to be working. People started questioning Ben's motives, and the company's board members grew uneasy. However, Ben was prepared for such attacks. With his father's help, he had anticipated his stepfamily's actions and had taken measures to protect himself. At a crucial board meeting, Ben called for a press conference. He calmly addressed the allegations made by Melinda and her children, presenting irrefutable evidence that shattered their accusations. The media, who had been eagerly awaiting a juicy scandal, were left dumbfounded. The tables had turned, and it was Melinda's family who found themselves under the harsh glare of the spotlight. With their lies exposed, Melinda and her children had no choice but to watch as Ben took over the company. He proved to be an exceptional leader, guided by his father's teachings and determined to make Julius proud. On the other hand, Melinda and her children were left with nothing. Their status as socialites was stripped away, and they were ridiculed by the very people who had once admired them. In the end, Julius's foresight and wisdom triumphed over deceit and greed. The Crane family name was salvaged, and justice was served. What did you think of this story? Let us know in the comments below. Please like and share it with your friends and family. We'll see you in the next video.